Well, hello again. I've got something very special today to talk about. In the past, I've talked about flowers, native flowers, right throughout the flowering right through the year. But today I was going to talk about native plants in tubs, in containers, for people in a very restricted area. In a small, they've only got a very small backyard, or small patio, or small veranda, something like that. Now, the first thing I must stress on these ones are that they're for outside, not inside. So they won't go inside. But if you wanted to put them inside for one day, that would be okay. But you wouldn't grow them inside indefinitely. So to begin with, I'd start on Agonis flexuosa. This is a magnificent little dwarf peppermint. Grows to about 1 metre high and about 1 metre across in a container. And it's got these lush green leaves. And in the winter, right about now, or the colder it is, wherever you are, the colder it is, the more, or the redder the foliage new growth will get. It's a really nice foliage container plant. And the other point there, with all these ones I'm going to talk about, like the Agonis here, the more root bound they get in this container, the happier, strangely enough, the happier they are. It's unusual, but it's good for them in all of these varieties. So the only thing is, if you have had them in these containers for several years and you want to plant them out, they would become a bit root bound, so you're restricted there in that area. So you'd be better to start with another young one and plant it outside. So in that Agonis there, as you can see, it's an attractive foliage one. You can put that one anywhere in a hot situation, in the patio, up in a hot situation next to the pool. You could shift them around anywhere. It does have small white flowers, but its main feature there in that Agonis is its attractive lush foliage, and that's something that you can have in tub plants on natives. But from the attractive foliage to one that flowers right throughout winter is Thryptomene. Thryptomene is an attractive one in a container. It doesn't, the restricted area of the pot doesn't make a great deal of difference. Its main advantage is that it flowers from now right through till spring, and it's an attractive vase picking one. So I'll just snip a bit off there and show you. You can take them right back to about there, and that's one advantage of it. So you can vase pick it as well as have it in the pot. So in that little restricted area that you've got, you can have some to put inside in the lounge in a vase and still have it in a pot. So by cutting it, you're not doing restricting it. Feel free to cut it back. That does it a great deal of good. And you'll find that new growth will come away very quick in Thryptomene. It's from the Thryptomene in a winter flowering one to another one that flowers, very unusual one, that flowers all the year round. It's a tremendous Grevillea in Grevillea Robyn Gordon. It's something that is probably one of the best foliage and new introductions that we've got in native plants in this particular Grevillea. And as I've said previously, if you cut either vase pick the whole piece, or when it's finished, as this one is just about done, if you cut that old flower off, you've got one flower coming on all the time. You've got a new bud there. You can see one there, one there, one there. You can see it coming right down the branch all the time. So it doesn't do it any harm to snip the old pieces off, like so, the old flowers. And you've got the more, you tip prune the Grevillea Robyn Gordon, the bushier and lusher it's going to get. Now that is a really ideal one in a very large tub, as you can see there. And it only grows no more than 1 metre high, but it will spread out. And another advantage on that one is that it'll grow in the hottest position. If you've got it in a very hot position, say up by the pool in the summer, it'll also grow in a semi-shaded position. But the positioning of them will determine how lush they are. If you've got it in a hot position, in a northerly aspect, it'll get quite hard-looking foliage, and if you've got it in a soft, cool position in the south of the house, you'll get this lush effect. And at that point, I'll probably stress that even though they are natives, you can put a normal potting mix in them. The normal potting mix that you would buy in a garden centre is excellent for all these varieties because it's got a bit of osmocote and all the elements that they need in it to make them attractive, and it's just spot on for all of these. So just a normal potting mix is okay. And like most of them, just average, like most pot plants outside, just average watering. Normal watering is excellent too. And you can probably see on some of these, I put a little bit of sawdust on the top of the pots just to make them look a little bit more attractive. So from that Grevillea to another Grevillea that flowers well at this time of the year is Grevillea thelemaniana. It's just a good winter little Grevillea with red flowers. It's again, I would use after it's flowered, I would just tip prune them, and you'll get that nice bushy effect after. That's excellent for coastal and a hot position, but will also grow as in a semi-shaded position. So from a Grevillea with a net foliage to a Grevillea with vivid green leaves is Grevillea obtusifolia. Again, a similar type of small flowers, but is just so abundant in flowers it just covers the whole bush, and that is ideal in a semi-shaded position, say on the south side. Many people have been asking for plants to grow on the south semi-shaded or cold side of the house, and that is an ideal one in a tub or normally in a normal situation. The other advantage of that one is it'll grow in a hot position or a wet position, so that's a really good one in Grevillea obtusifolia. So another unusual one people wouldn't think of putting in a tub is Kunzea baxterii, one of our bottle brushes with that nice needle fine foliage. It grows naturally in pure granite, so you can see there it doesn't grow in soil, so the root binding in a terracotta pot is ideal for it in a hot spot, and you'll get a lot more flowers. It might look a little bit hard, but you'll get a lot of flowers, and when it is flowering out in the patio, you can bring it forward and you can complement your other tubs with that one. So from the Kunzea baxterii to another little attractive foliage one in the myrtle, Hypocalymma cordifolium. That's also a nice little attractive one for a southern position, south of the house. Just attractive foliage, Hypocalymma cordifolium. It's a white flowering myrtle, just a nice dainty little flowering plant. So from that one to Rottnest pine. The Rottnest pine in a terracotta pot is ideal. It's erect, upright growing. It grows not very wide, but more upright. It's ideal in a hot position, but will also grow in a semi-shaded position. And probably the advantage of that one, when you get it to about 1.5 meters in a container, you can bring it in at Christmas time and use it as a Christmas tree. That would be one of its main advantages, but it's a vivid green, attractive needle foliage is the Rottnest pine. From a vivid green to one with a bit more colour again is the dampera. Most people would know the dampera now, but it's a good little ground cover and can be used in liaison there with, I've used it, put a Darwinia at the back, but just there you can see the change in foliage, nice background and a bit of colour in a community type garden. So then to another one with attractive foliage is Grevillea thelemaniana. The Grevillea thelemaniana, the reason why this one is so good is that it's a very attractive grey form, and it's a low, more spreading. It's probably the most attractive of the Grevillea thelemaniana forms, and that would be a good one for the most exposed seaside. If people have got a flat facing the ocean, I would start with that one first. You can use that one in a community pot with others. So that's just a good. Just to show you there, it's in full flower and it's an excellent one. So from that Grevillea to a community garden, not many people think of putting a lot in one container. If you've got an old barrel around and you want it, or any old container for that matter, but there I've put 3-4 plants in one barrel, just to give you an idea. In the Thryptomene I've previously described, the myrtle for foliage variation, and the Robyn Gordon, you can see there, and they just all melt attractively together, and you'll find that they won't crowd each other at all in that situation. They're just attractive. But if one does tend to crowd, say the Grevillea is getting a bit big, you can just take a bit of it away, and similarly with the Thryptomene, you can take a little bit of it out and use them in the vase situation, and you can have a little community garden in that one. So from that community garden, I just thought that you can do that in any aspect. You can put several, a little bit like indoor gardens. You can put several in one container and they'll live happily together. And something really special to finish on this program, I've put a black boy in a container. So that is something not many people would think of. It would be ideal in a barrel well, you'd need something at least that big. And since it only has grass roots, it doesn't have a taproot. Many people still think the black boy has a taproot, just like the trunk there. It doesn't. As you know, you can see them in the hills, growing right on rocks in granite. They're sitting right on stones, so they just have grass roots, and you can transplant them quite easily. So if you've got an opportunity of getting one from a farm or an area, that I would have the opportunity of transplanting it in a container if you can, and it would last indefinitely in that pot, forever. And obviously that one there would be about 100 years old, so you know, you couldn't never grow it in time, so you could transplant it and you would have it like that. That particular one there is burnt. The more, with the black boy, the more you burn it, the blacker the trunk will be. And if you do burn it, don't worry about, you could just put a hose on the top so you don't scorch all the new growth, but if you burn it, the hotter the better on the trunk, and you'll find it will look much more attractive in that container. So there's an interesting selection of all the pots, all the varieties there, and for people in a restricted area. So until next time, cheerio.